Hello, Seafood John again. Gonna get back going with the Grasp Bird's Tail playlist when I finish this up. But just one way or the other, it's kind of there and needs to get done. Because I already put a little bit out there. Let me finish it out. So we talked about circles, talked about stepping, talked a little bit about the standing post posture, things like that, and then you know. A little bit more in terms of just sort of building blocks of the larger sort of posture, the four parts of it, and then start putting stuff together. So we got a couple. That is a pug, not a monkey. And I'm not petting him now for like the first time all day, so he's like. Anyway, so one of the things that I like most about Grasp Bird's Tail from Yang style is that it is at its like sort of foundation, its function is the sort of cardinal four of the eight energies in Taiji. Peng Lu Jian, Kele Zhu Kao. So we have Peng Lu Jian is the ward off, roll back, press, and push. And this is also sort of how you would solo practice Tuisho or push hands. So you've got Sancho and everything. You can get the shadow boxing and all that other stuff, and kind of solo practice that. Grass Bird's Tail is nice solo practice for push hands. The other four in there too, Keiler Zhukao, and I'll have another thing, kind of just in encapsulating kind of those four later on. I do have another video, if memory serves, about all eight energies, about 15 minutes or so. So I'm not going to go as into it with that, but we'll kind of point some things out as this playlist continues and wraps up. What I want to do now is just a quick short series of Peng Lu Jian in terms of just how to hold the arms individually for each of the parts, and then I'm going to put them together, and then put them together with the legs, and then put them together with the legs and with the stepping, and then we'll kind of just work it in with that and build out from there. So just like the creation of the universe, we went from something very simple and small and adding more and more complexity until you have a thing. Time out. He's being a thing. You get it. You get it. I don't know if you hear these creature noises, but I hope you can because they're adorable. Okay, so normally I like to play postures both sides. So Yang style in the more recent years, the Yang family has added a 13 and 16 and a 19 routines to the sort of repertoire instead of just here's the long form, here's a couple of the weapons, let's keep working and get deeper with it. Part of it is because of the demands of our society and functioning and what we kind of brought in from the West with it now. And part of it, I mean, I use them a lot to ease people in. Not just necessarily, okay, well, you're busy and an executive and you only got a few minutes to practice a day, do this. I'll put that in there too, but it really is easier ways to start building and building and building and then kind of plugging things in so when eventually we're in the long form, it's not overwhelming. One of the ways we learned it was just sort of follow. I mean, we did the simplified first and then it was like, all right, we'll follow and then pick up as you kind of go, which is a little bit more old school. It's a very interesting way to learn. But I know not everyone is going to have the same level of kind of masochistic training insanity that I do. So I will like to play both sides. I'm basically just going to show the one side on these quick little things because when you play the long form, for instance, in Yang style, Grass Bird's Tail is always right style. You come in from hold the ball, come up nice and round, wrap around, roll back, come up, press, open, and push through. It's always going to be that side. So that's kind of just what I'm going to show just for demonstration purposes, just for illustration purposes. You can use left side with it, and I also will encourage you to do that as well. Again, what you do on one side, you should be able to do on the other. There you go. Those of you who thought you'd never use algebra again after high school, I got you, math teachers. But not only that, you know, in a self-defense situation, you never know which side that you're going to have to use. And in terms of balancing the body's energies, you got to have both sides harmonized. I'm a big proponent of symmetry with that. You are just being a little freak. He just ate. Sometimes when he just eats, he gets a little, especially he's got his little flossy toy there too. So, Peng. We think about, again, we're the same thing. Everything's going to be in a circle here, almost like you're being inflated out from the ball and floating on the water. Like Yang Chen Fu said, the Peng is like a boat floating on the water. Again, from the crown of the head to the Bai Hui, that sort of axial center line that the whole body, at least the torso and the head are going to, oh dear, sorry, torso and the head are going to kind of pivot on. You know, like this here. You know, it's not that. It's not doing one of those. No, it's here with this. And so we want to be able to create in our body a rounded, inflated, not only posture, but feeling coming in to out. So if now that force comes in, instead of just letting the body collapse in like a flan in the oven, when it pushes in, you can keep that buoyancy, that space in the body, that pressure in the body even, because when we're talking about if we're using as little muscle strength as we can, so we're talking about now pressure in with the body. And then movement with the body as well. We want to be able to, when that force comes in, keep from being collapsed and be able to turn and get out of the way. And then we can redirect it, or come in and come back to overwhelm, or something along those lines. Done correctly with certain angles and force and everything too, it can even now be used to neutralize. So there might be situations, so the force is coming in and you can in and neutralize. And when the body is aligned correctly, it feels all the way down through the back, through the hips and dantian, in through the feet and out into the ground. So if you watch, there's actually a video, or there's a couple of videos of Chen Xiaowang doing kind of some demonstrations like this, including one with like a guy who's like a big bodybuilder, wrestler kind of guy. And they got like 3 2-minute rounds or something like that. And he's got the wrestlers trying to push Chen Xiaowang out of like this small like yin yang, like I don't know, a 5-foot sort of diameter thing. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't push Chen Xiaowang out because he was having, the way he had himself set up and everything. He was able to relax. He was able to sink. He was able to root. And when you can root, there's a lot that can be coming in that can be neutralized. Which I think sometimes people tend to overlook with Tai Chi because they just want to kind of be, just kind of overly do too much with it. And I think sometimes that's one of the things that gets overlooked. Sometimes there's a neutralizing in there as well. And that, to me, at least, and again, I'm just talking about my experience with this. Some of that has to do with Peng as well. Because again, it's keeping that safe, that sort of outward inflation with it as well. So we're going to take our right arm. Wrist is going to be slightly higher than the elbow. We want to have that sort of 45-degree angle down. We start lifting that elbow up. When the wrist is this high, that shoulder starts popping up. Again, separates itself from the whole. So maybe if everything else is perfect, you have one whole body and then the arm. So you have 2 instead of 1. Now, when we go into G or press, there will be more of balance with that, but it's not, there will be kind of slight technical differences, and we'll talk about that here shortly. But for this, we've got the wrist about shoulder height, zoop, elbow 45 degrees down. So this is nice and relaxed. Again, that fist distance in the armpit between the sort of inner, that sort of inner line of pressure point between the bicep and the tricep, and then in here with the upper obliques and lower pec and all that. We want that area still inflated out and nice and rounded too. The left hand, fingers are going to point at the forearm. I'm not too far forward. I'm not too far back. I'm not directly behind either. You'll see this a lot with it too. I think Bruce Kumar Francis will say like old frame yang with something like this. I'm talking about the yang style that we have now, coming down from Yang Chen Fu with Yang Zheng Dao and Yang Jun being the sort of figureheads for it. It's in the books, even Fu Zhong Wen books, and everything like the sort of accepted general yang style we're talking about that we see popular now. So we have, good boy, you got your toy. So we have that nice rounded here and pointy here. And again, same thing with this arm. My fingers aren't locked in. They're relaxed but not dead. I'm lifting, sitting the palm. Again, that round space, inflated out from the body. Underneath here, there's still that distance. And if you look straight down, there's that circle. Very similar to if I was in that zong shape. So I'm not forward, I'm not too far back, kind of right under. One of the things this is training is if you see, especially with American push hands, because American push hands and Chinese ones, a little bit different. Chinese sort of push hands, you'll see if you can watch Chen Zijiang's, especially even Chen Bing playing push hands, it almost sort of looks like Shuaijiao. They got throws and stuff in there too. It's kind of cool. But especially with Americans, you've got wrist to wrist, and then the other hand goes to the elbows. So you kind of have this going on, and then you make circles. If I'm judging a tournament, I make them do 3, and then you can go from there whether or not you're just doing stationary, single step, or kind of free roaming with it. That's kind of the default position for starting with Tuisha, the push hands. So we have that here. Now to mirror you, if you're kind of watching on a TV or something like that, you're trying to do that to mirror you, it's going to look like this. So to get from there, we come in from hold the ball. So you're going to have the left hand on top. Again, right now I'm mirroring you. If your left hand's on top, right hand's underneath. Now this is important. Again, space between, curve of the arm. We want to bring that bottom hand up like you're coming around a big belly. So you can imagine Yang Chen Fu, big guy. We want to come around that belly up from hold the ball, so it should already be in a curve, should already have kind of that Peng distance, and round that up. Now what happens, that backhand from the top, what's top comes down, presses in, down. Now, Grandmaster Hu, my teacher, one of my teacher's teachers, would say, one energy is good, one energy, okay, well, okay, you got the energy, good. 2 better, 3, well, technically it's exactly what he's like, makes better, but 3 is even better. So even with Peng, which is I think I've talked about before, being the keystone energy, it's the one that's going to kind of have its little claws in all the other 8 or 7, however you want to count it. There are other ones that have their sort of signature in with that as well, the sort of energy signature in with that as well. With this Peng, we even have Ji, that's sort of squeezing, pressing in with that too. But if we start with left hand on top, right hand hold the ball, underneath, roll up with the right hand, push with the left. So if I get down a little bit more so you can kind of even that out, you're going to have this. Again, wrist, about 45-degree angle over the shoulder, the elbow, wrist, shoulder height, is what I meant to say. Left hand pushing here underneath, slight push, again, sticking on to the elbow. You can think that. And this is the mirror of what you want to do. This is, you know, if you're good at kind of playing exactly along, it's going to be here. So when it comes from 45, I'm going to come up at 45, hips 45, so the shoulders are too, because the hips and shoulders are together, tailbone tucked in line with that back foot, 45 degrees. We hold the ball. As we push forward, it rolls up. And here's your Peng. Okay, so that's just kind of the general shape of Peng. Starting to get into it there. I'm going to continue on with the other four as we go. The rest of the four, I should say, the other three, the rest of the four. So, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And we will see you shortly with Lou. Thank you.